Okay, so we're going to take a look now. If I go back to the author site, we'll click this add new button to add a question or a feature. So you can see here, we have an overview of all of our different question types. And if we toggle at the top here, we can look at our features too. So we can see there's 8 features. And this is a passage here where we'd add our passage of text, video player, audio player, and so on. If we go back to questions though, you can see all of our different question types are grouped together in different categories. So with the author site as well, this is all customizable. We can customize any of this for you. You can change the names of these categories, you can change question template names, and you can hide options in the question editor, change defaults, that kind of thing. And we do have a webinar on that. We have a webinars playlist on YouTube, and we do have a webinar. It's the question editor webinar, and it goes into customization as well. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and author a multiple choice question. So if we look at this, you'll see the question editor and then the question editor preview screen on the right column. So all of our question types follow the same kind of rough template in the question editor. So at the top, you'll compose your question. You can see here you have this toolbar. Any field where there's a toolbar, you're able to add in things like, well, you can format the text obviously, but you can also add in images, you can add in some math using LaTeX or MathML. You can add in tables, and you can also embed videos and audio players as well. So for now, we'll just type in a simple question. So we'll just say, select all the European cities from the list below. Okay. And then we'll just set up our multiple choice options. So we'll just put in some city names. I can't spell Paris. Okay, and one more. So you can always click add to add a new response option. The trash can icon will always delete. If you'd like to have a specific order that these options appear in, you can also click and drag. Now we'll set our correct answers. And again, this scoring section is the same in all auto-scored question types. So first of all, you'll set up your points for the question. So I'll leave this at 1 point for now. At the moment, you can see as well that I can only select one response at a time, even though there are 3 correct answers there. So if I enable this multiple responses option, now I can select more than one option. So I'll select Paris and I'll select Rome as well. You can also shuffle options. So if I enable this, anytime this question is rendered on the screen, it'll render in a randomized order. The response options will render in a randomized order. So if you have a group of students in a room, they'll each get a randomized order of the questions, of the response options. Okay, so now we'll head into more options. We've kind of an advanced scoring section down here. So first you'll see the unscored / practice usage option. So if I click on that, all of the scoring on this question has been disabled. You can see the grayed out boxes there. And that's just useful for, exactly as it sounds, practice questions, anything where the student score result doesn't matter. You also have a penalty points field. So whatever value I enter in here, that is the amount of points that I will be deducted for a wrong answer on a question. So, and it's every time so if I select 2 wrong answers in this question, I'll be deducted this value twice. Then we have the check answer button. So if I enable that, you can see a check answer button has appeared on the right column. So this will just tell me if my responses I select are correct or incorrect. It won't tell me what the correct ones are. It will just tell me whether what I've chosen is correct or incorrect. It provides no other feedback. And then I can also set how many times that button can be selected by the student. So if I select 1, and then use it, it's disabled now and I can't use it again. And then we have our scoring types, which is a really important part of the whole scoring setup. So we have 3 scoring types. Most of our questions have these scoring types. And exact match is usually the default scoring type. So in this question, exact match is the default. And that means that my question's worth 1 point. So if I have to get everything correct on this to get my 1 point. Even if I select Rome and Paris, I get no marks, and so on. I have to select the 3 correct answers. Whereas if I select partial match per response, I still have my 1 point value in the box up here, but now each correct answer is worth 1 mark. So this means I'll get awarded for every correct answer I give. So again, Rome, Paris, and Dublin, and I have 3 out of 3 now. And then we've partial match. So if I'll select rounding to none. Okay, so partial match, I have my 1 point in the points box here, but now the whole question is worth 1 mark, and each correct answer is worth 0.33 marks. So Rome, you can see here, 0.333 out of 1, and so on till we get all of them correct. Okay, we'll change back to exact match. We have this new option underneath that, enable auto scoring. So what this is if I uncheck that box, all of the scoring disappears from the question, and this means that it needs to be teacher scored. So it just means now that any question type can be easily made not auto scored if you wanted to by just a simple option in the question editor. But it's always enabled by default on auto scoreable questions, so it's not something you need to worry about unless you want to disable it. And then lastly, in the scoring section, we have this minimum score if attempted option. And this will give the student a temp mark. So whatever value I enter in here, I will get awarded those marks for just attempting the question, even if my response is completely incorrect. And that's all of the advanced scoring options. There's never really any more than that in any of the question types we have. So then we have a very short layout section, which does vary depending on the question type. In multiple choice, we have 3 styles that we can pick from. So we have the standard style, which is the one we see with the question and the responses in a list. Then we have block. This is a great option for touch screens, because if I just select anywhere on that row, it'll mark the whole option. And then if I select radio button under option, the checkbox just moves underneath each option rather than appearing in line. That's really the only difference there. So we'll go back to standard. I can also select how many columns my response options appear over. So by default, it's always 1, but we can change that to 2 or even 3. So you can see now. And then I have orientation as well. So if you'll notice here with vertical orientation, I see Rome, Paris, New York, Sydney, and Dublin. If I change that to horizontal, I see Rome, Sydney, Paris, Dublin, New York. So it just renders the options in a slightly different order. And then lastly, I can change the font size. So I can choose anything from small all the way up to huge. You can also configure these when you set up an activity as well. You don't have to do it in the question editor. In the activity editor, it's a global option, but it is there. And then we have this extra section at the bottom. So this is like a metadata section. Distractor rationale, rubric reference, and sample answer are all fields that need to be configured by your development team. And the reason just for this is that everyone likes to display these particular options differently. So we've just given everyone the option to customize it themselves. It's very simple to do, and if you have any questions about that, you can always contact us. But distractor rationale, the idea here is just a piece of feedback for the student when they select their answer, or a hint as well. Rubric reference and sample answer are basically, they're very similar. It could be some kind of feedback for the student in the form of an audio recording of the teacher speaking, telling the student their feedback, or a sample answer could be a PDF. But it's just important to know that you can't see what you enter in those fields reflected in the question editor preview. And it's the same with this distractors option down at the bottom. This is the very same as the distractor rationale, except you can just have as many of these as you like. So you can really customize the feedback rather than just have one generic line of feedback. It's also good to know that these are numbered, but they are not in any way tied to any of the response options. So distractor 1 is not tied to the first response option, which is Rome. They're just numbered for your convenience. Then acknowledgements, anything you enter in there will appear at the end of an assessment when the student hits submit. Whereas stimulus review only is, the idea here is just that it's a version of the question that will appear in review mode to a teacher or whoever is reviewing the test. And instructor stimulus is just some instructions that you might want the instructor to see when they're giving out the test, or maybe some instructions you want them to read out to the students. And that's it, that's our question. So we'll save that.